Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Um, Whenever you may be listening, we are back with another episode of Dugout Talk. As always, it's me and my lovely partner here, Steven.
Stop
Um,
it.
um, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this here on this Friday morning with a little day in history. Steven, why don't you go ahead and lead us off on that?
Yeah, so mine happened a year ago today in 2020. Major League Baseball officially announced the new rules that will be introduced in the upcoming season. They include a minimum of three batters faced by relief pitchers, the addition of a 26th player to the roster, originally from 25, which also includes a limit of 13 pitchers, and then a limit on expanded rosters after September 1st of 28 players versus the maximum 40. So 28 players and 14 pitchers max. And there will also be a restriction on the use of position players on the mound and on the use of the injured list.
Interesting. All right, let me. So for mine, actually, mine happened back in 2002. Um, and in 2002, Major League Baseball actually purchased the Montreal Expos from the. Oops, sorry, my camera's off over here. The MLB purchased the Montreal Expos for 120 million from Jeffrey Loria. Jeffrey Loria then turned around and took out a loan from Major League Baseball in order to buy the Miami, or sorry, at the time the Florida Marlins, for a 158.5 million. Like I said, he used a loan to cover the difference between what he sold the Expos at and what he purchased the Marlins for. As some of you may know, Jeffrey Loria is popular for having essentially ruined two different major league franchises. Was kind of not willing to keep Baltimore in, or sorry, was not willing to keep baseball in Montreal there at the end of that tenure there, and then immediately turned around and kind of kept the Florida Marlins a relatively weak competitor over the next decade and a half or so that he was the owner of them. So, 2002, Jeffrey Loria sold the Montreal Expos to Major League Baseball.
I actually read something interesting not too long ago. I think it may have been this week. Back in 2002, Major League Baseball was actually looking to cut some teams. Montreal was one of them, but the other team is actually the team we're talking about today. Um, Ironically enough,
Hmm. Yeah. Um, the Minnesota Twins. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into these guys. Looking at how their offseason has kind of gone, they haven't lost a lot of many. They haven't lost many of their big name players. Um, Eddie Rosario, he's been a long tenured Twin. He's gone. He went over to Cleveland. Um, Trevor May, they lost him to the Mets. Marwin Gonzalez, they lost to Boston, and Jake Odorizzi is still a free agent. That's really as far as their big offseason losses have gone to this point. They have made a few good offseason additions, mainly Alex Colomé, the relief pitcher, who actually signed not too long ago. Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop. Um, the Twins were not one of the teams that I had him as a good fit for. There was actually some rumors that he was in talks with Philadelphia and Cincinnati, who were two of the three teams I thought he'd be a good fit for. But he ended up landing with Minnesota. He should be a great fit there. Um, J Hap, I don't know what their plans are with J Hap. I don't know what they see in him. I don't know if they can kind of recreate him or something like that. But they're gonna take a flyer on him. And then Hansel Robles is another a decent guy. He had a big thing going on. He was a big fan favorite out in Los Angeles. Not I know he wasn't the best relief pitcher in the world, but I'm not really sure why the Angels let him go. Um, they need all the pitching they can get, so kind of losing another bullpen arm doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, looking at how the Twins stack up, it's definitely been a relatively even off season for them to this point.
Yeah. Kind of just looking at what they've been capable of doing, because they signed Josh Donaldson to that 4-year deal last year. So it's not like they had a ton of money on the table that they could just go out and be active on the free agent market, but they at least filled holes where they needed to fill holes. I like Alex Colomé as their closer going into the year. I think he's a big upgrade to that bullpen. They didn't really have any big name guys in that bullpen to begin with before getting Colomé, so he is a good addition for them. Um, I guess one thing I would have liked to see them do more is maybe try to pursue an outfielder if they figured Rosario wasn't gonna return, or if they weren't gonna bring him back. I guess it's the one area that I wish I would have seen them try a little harder to do. But when I was looking at their Fangraphs roster projections, it actually looks like they might be set in the outfield this year. So it may not be Rosario may not end up being that big of a loss for them uh, come opening day and when the season gets underway. Um, yeah, J Hap, I'm kind of curious how that works out. I know he wasn't all that stellar with the Yankees, and I know he was pretty brutal to watch at times, but one thing I do think will help him is Target Field is not hitter friendly like Yankee Stadium is, and the ball just doesn't fly nearly as much there as it does at Yankee Stadium. So I think that maybe pitching in a ballpark that favors pitchers a little more will help him. Um, we'll see, though. I think kind of what Minnesota's done so far, it's enough to still keep them relevant in the division. I still think they're a good enough team, really, either way, that they could win the division, if not get a wild card. They have a really good skipper in Rocco Baldelli. Um, he's proven to show that he has what it takes to work at this level as a big league skipper. The only thing is now at this point, Minnesota just needs to get that playoff win. And I'm not saying playoff series. I'm saying in the actual, they need a playoff win, a playoff game win. And we found out last year it wasn't the Yankees that was the reason they weren't getting those wins, because they should have beaten Houston, and they failed to do that too. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they kind of move from here. They definitely have a lot of I'll say they have a lot of soul searching they have to do. They are definitely going to have to look themselves in the mirror and say, is the group that we have right now going to be a competitor, or do we kind of need to go back to the drawing board and put something together for down the road? And it'll definitely be interesting to see what they decide to do. Jumping over to their lineup, it's definitely one that's worthy of winning a playoff game. Um, I assembled mine relatively traditional. A guy that I really like, a guy who's got a lot of great potential. Luis Arias, the second baseman. I have him leading off. Um, one of, if not my favorite non-Yankee in baseball, center fielder Byron Buxton. He was a guy that he was taken very very high in the draft way back when. I think it was 2015 now, 2014 or 15 at this point. Um, One of the first picks in the draft. He may have been the number one pick. I'm not entirely sure, but he defense second to none. I would take him over any other player in baseball. Yes, even over Aaron Hicks. I think he's got the best defense, not only just in the outfield but in baseball in general. If he could just stay healthy, his bat really has started to come around the last 2 seasons. That was his biggest concern pre 2019, was that like he can field really well. He's faster than like 99% of baseball, but the guy couldn't stay healthy. It seemed like he'd go and make a big diving play, or he'd crash into the wall, stumble around the bases, or do something, and he'd be out for a month and a half. So that kind of kept his bat from progressing to a point where it caught up to his glove to some degree. So if he can continue kind of the offensive production that he had, I know he's been hitting some more home runs recently. If he can continue his offensive production and just stay healthy, like he'll be fine. He'll be one of the better players in baseball. And speaking of one of the better players in baseball, the DH Nelson Cruz, who has seemingly defied father time for the last decade or so. Um, I don't know when this is going to kind of fall off for him. You know, baseball players aren't really supposed to be hitting, you know, like 45 home runs a year at you know, in their late 30s. Something that really hasn't happened since like, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of continue to delay the inevitable or not. But he figures to probably delay it at least one more year. It seems like. And another guy who's had a career resurgence here up here in Minnesota is the third baseman Josh Donaldson. I have him hitting fourth. A lot of people kind of thought he was done there his last season in Toronto when he got shipped off to Cleveland. You know, a lot of people weren't really sure if he was going to keep playing at a high level or not, but he's done that in Minnesota. Um, and behind him in the five hole, I have Max Kepler, who recently has turned into a stud, just a dude. He hits home runs left, right, and center. Plays great defense. Batting average is only climbing and climbing higher. So he figures to be another dangerous hitter. Miguel Sano is kind of their big bopper in the lineup. I have him hitting sixth. He'll be playing first base. If he can keep his batting average around 225 to 240, somewhere in that general area, I think they can live with that, being that they're going to get close to 40 45 home runs, and usually well north of 100 RBIs for it. So if he can keep his batting average respectable, he's kind of had a uh, like a Chris Carter type of career to this point. For the Astros fans out there, he was kind of a cult favorite out there in Houston. Uh, Hitting seventh, I have the young buck Alex Kirilloff. I have him playing in left field. I'll be talking more about him later on. And then hitting eighth, I have the shortstop Andrelton Simmons. I know he could probably hit higher in the lineup, but his offense, it kind of peaked right around 2018 2019 and has kind of fallen back down since. Not to say that he's not a good hitter, but I do have him hitting eighth. And then the catcher Ryan Jeffers rounding out the lineup hitting ninth.
Yeah, I have a different lineup, kind of. It's
Mm-hmm.
more so because the order is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I have Max Kepler still being the leadoff man in right field. I think he's a good power guy to have up at the top, kind of to get the offense going on a given night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I think he's going to be the leadoff guy going in. I have Luis Arias actually in left field this year.
Okay.
And the thing is the Simmons signing is a little odd in this way because they already have Jorge Polanco.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I know Polanco's been kind of trade rumors since last year, and I do wonder if maybe the Twins still have something up their sleeve, and maybe they still try to move Polanco at some point this year, if not before the spring training begins. Um, but I think for right now, Arias would probably be in left field, unless if they think Polanco could be an outfielder. I think there's some rumors that he might get shipped to the outfield at some point. But just for right now, I got Arias in left field. And the nice thing about him is he's versatile, so he can play anywhere on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Nelson Cruz, the DH, hitting third. And the thing about Nelson Cruz is I really hope he's not doing PEDs again. Now, granted, PEDs don't actually enhance your
No, yeah,
performance. They
yep.
just keep you from being injured. But since he got suspended in 2013, this resurgence has really happened for him. So hopefully he's still clean, but I hope he has another big year. They're also deadening the ball this year, which I don't know what that means. Um, but we'll see. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. I think he can still hit at least 35 homers. If he doesn't get
Yeah,
40,
absolutely.
35 seems doable.
Mm-hmm.
Miguel Sano, I've got him at first base hitting cleanup. I have Josh Donaldson hitting third and batting fifth. Or I'm sorry, I have him playing third and batting fifth. Jorge Polanco at second base, I've got him hitting sixth. Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop, I've got him hitting seventh. I have Byron Buxton hitting eighth in center, and I'm really rooting for Buxton to have a big year. I'm hoping that he doesn't land on the injured list again. I don't know what it is about center fielders, man. There
I
is
know.
something about them that they are just the most fragile guys out there. Because we've seen it with Kevin Kiermaier,
Yep.
seen it with AJ Pollock. I mean, it's just like, what's up with these guys? Why are they so fragile? I mean, yeah,
I don't know.
you want them to give it their all on the
Yeah.
field, but sometimes it's like, man, dude, just don't. Like, if that ball's gonna hit the wall, don't go crashing into it to try and grab it. Just let it hit the wall. And then I have the rookie Ryan Jeffers, the catcher, hitting ninth as well. I liked what I saw from Jeffers last year. I think, especially since Mitch Garver had a considerable down year after his 2019 resurgence. Garver's definitely going to need to prove that he should be the everyday catcher. But the nice thing is Garver could easily still get a consistent amount of starts with Jeffers back there. I think we'll easily see those two on a consistent nightly basis. But if Garver wants his starting role back, he has to, in the time he gets this year, he needs to show that he is capable of having everyday duties. Again, too, though, they have Williams also Astudillo, and I'm not sure what they think of him. He's always kind of seemed like a backup guy, but if they really feel good about Astudillo, Garver could be trade bait this year as well. Especially if he has a good year, they might try to put him on the block and see what they can get in return for him.
Yeah, it was a tough decision for me to put Jeffers in over Garver, being that Garver was just an absolute animal in 2019. But he really didn't outplay his competition last season. So I look at 2019 more as an outlier rather than what he's typically going to put up. So yeah, he definitely needs to earn that job back. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think Garver hasn't been around too long in the league.
No.
I think 2019 was his first year he really did full-time duties.
Yep.
So I think maybe this year we'll actually see kind of what the real Mitch Garver is. Whether that is like we're going to see the 2020 version of him or we see the 2019. So I think this year is going to be the year we're going to actually see who he is or what he's going to be later down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping over to their rotation, it figures to be pretty close to what they had last season. Only one new face in there. I have Jose Barrios as their ace. I think he's pretty much entrenched as their number one at this point. Not so much an ace in baseball, but he's definitely a good pitcher. Kenta Maeda, I have as their number two. He had a great season last year. He was part of that Brusdar Graterol trade, which is really looking like it's kind of backfired in the Red Sox face a little bit. I know that they were like, "Oh, this guy can't be a starter. Like, why would we want him?" And then he turns out to be one of the better bullpen arms in baseball. So it'll be interesting to see if Kenta Maeda. I'd be rooting for Kenta Maeda to finally get that perfect game. I know he was really, really close last year until Eric Sogard ended it. So yeah, I was actually up super late listening to that, and I was rooting for him. So Michael Pineda figures to probably be their number 3 starter this year. J Happ, I have him sliding in as the number 4 starter, and then I have Macho Man Randy Dobnak as their number 5 guy going into this season.
Actually, my rotation is the same as yours.
Okay,
I like Barrios at the top of the order. I think he is actually capable of being ace material. I think he just hasn't really had that breakout yet. But I feel like this could be the year where it all will come together, and he might. I think he was a Cy Young candidate a couple years ago, but I expect to see him at near the top, if not the Cy Young this year. Kenta Maeda too. Man, I'm rooting for him too. I think he has been really close a few times in his career to getting that no hitter, and then the perfect game almost last year. I think What was he? He was 2 outs away. Was
Yeah,
it
I believe so. I
outs?
believe
Yeah,
it was
he was
eight
just
in the
right
third.
there. Yeah, I'm rooting for him to have a good year too. Maeda could even be, if they can get a good 1-2 punch out of Barrios and Maeda. I mean, that's a deadly 1-2 right there to have in
Mm-hmm.
that rotation. And then if they can get some solid production out of Pineda and Hap even,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think this rotation is capable of being a very pain in the neck rotation for opposing
Yep.
teams, and I think that's going to be what keeps them in the division race this year is how the starters do. Um, and then Randy Dobnak is a good number 5, and I even think Dobnak has a chance to be a really good number 5 guy in that rotation. He's shown some flashes over the last couple of years of being, I wouldn't say ace material, but at
Yeah.
least like a really good middle rotation starter.
Yep.
He has put up some decent outings over his first couple seasons. I actually feel really good about this rotation going in, and like I said, I think this rotation is going to be what keeps them in the hunt for a good chunk of the year. The offense is good, but they need the pitching staff to
Yep.
really come through for them this year. Otherwise, things aren't gonna go well.
Yeah, it's interesting because like just trying to think back to how they've kind of fallen apart against the Yankees over the past couple seasons. I know they played them pretty often. They played them in the 2017 wild card game. Then they played them in the 2019 ALDS. And just kind of looking at how I know that this isn't the same lineup they had at that point, but like their pitching, it's never just one thing. And looking at this team in particular, I think it really is their starting pitching that they're really going to need to improve upon. Um, I don't see how you could look at how J Happ has performed the last 2 seasons and say that's our number 4 guy. Maybe a fringe number 5, maybe even a fringe number 6, maybe just a guy for um, even just a long relief, maybe. But I don't know how you can trust, someone who, I mean, he'll be 38 this season. He's had a bad track record the last 2 seasons. So I think that if they're going to not only win the division but make an actual playoff push in October, they're definitely going to need to acquire a quality starting pitcher, to say the least, in order to compete.
To me, they need to jump on Jake Odorizzi.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and it's a shame that he's still on the market because Odorizzi has been one of the most consistent starters in the
Yeah.
league for the last nearly decade. Um, and I think he is the best starting pitcher on the market right now of all of
Probably.
them. And James Paxton's still available too, but to me,
Hmm.
if you're the Twins, you need Odorizzi.
Yeah.
And I guess the Twins could go into opening day with this rotation and say
You
they're
could.
fine, and then just, but I think Odorizzi would bolster more confidence, at least going into the season, where they wouldn't need to worry about potentially getting a starter like in May, because I don't think the Twins are going to survive the deadline. If they kind of like what we said with the White Sox the other day, if the Twins see a golden opportunity in front of them, they can't wait till the deadline to make something happen. They got to do something in May or early June. Um, so if they don't get Odorizzi, which I have a feeling Odorizzi is going to re-sign with the club to some degree.
Hmm.
I think he's going to come back.
Yep. Yep.
But if they don't get Odorizzi and they feel like this rotation is going to get them at least a good start to the year, then they need in May, June, they need to start looking around and seeing who is available and what can they get, what would they need to give up to get said starting pitcher
Hmm.
to help them out. Because I'm not extremely confident this rotation would get them a playoff win necessarily. Maybe if they got the wild card, I could see them winning the wild card game. But
Hmm.
if they win the division and have to face the Yankees again in the ALDS, God forbid,
Yeah.
that's not. They need to do something else if they want to get over that hump finally.
Yeah. If it's not going to be I mean, it's interesting to see. I know that Jake Odorizzi is um, definitely in recent years not the same kind of pitcher as a guy like Trevor Bauer, but they do have relatively surprisingly close career numbers to each other. I think Odorizzi actually has a lower career ERA than Trevor Bauer, but if Jake Odorizzi is not a guy that the Twins think they can bring back, whether they really don't think he's worth the money that they would be paying him, they could always go get a guy like Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker's still a free agent, and he from what everything's been showing, he's kind of lost some of the interest that he had. I know that the Yankees ran on him for a little bit. I know the Mets ran on him for a little bit. Even teams like the Angels ran on him for a little bit. But I mean, he's not a bad starting pitcher. Like, it's crazy to see that Jake Odorizzi and Taijuan Walker are both still free agents, with just over or just under a week until pitchers and catchers report.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see who they pick up, if anyone. But now that we've talked about it, they'll probably go and pick up both of those guys. Because
Cleveland fans, you can thank us for Ben Gamble. I know he's not a big signing, but I'm
No.
not kidding. I just published a video yesterday, and as soon as I published it, John Heyman comes out and says Gamble is an Indian. It was literally as soon as I published it. One quick note on Byron Buxton, because you mentioned his draft pick. He was the number 2 overall pick in 2012.
2012, okay.
Yeah, he debuted in 2015, but in 2012 he was the number 2 overall pick.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, though.
I know. Yeah. There are a lot of guys like that at this point. Yeah, we'll jump over to their bullpen. How do you have their bullpen set up?
Yeah, so Alex Colomé, I think he'll be the closer on opening. Well, I don't think he should be the closer on opening day.
Yeah.
Other than that, they can really flip-flop with anybody in that bullpen. I think anyone there is capable of pitching just about anywhere. Right now, I have Taylor Rogers as the setup man going in to opening day, and I think Rogers is going to be a highly coveted bullpen piece for them. He can be kind of a middle innings guy, maybe a setup man. Tyler Duffy, I like him as the 7th inning guy right now. One guy who is capable of being a starter too, and maybe even could figure to be in a 6-man rotation if the Twins decide to go that route, is Devin Smeltzer. But right now I got Smeltzer in the bullpen. I think for him, he may need to earn a spot in the rotation, which may not be that difficult if someone like Happ or Dobnak start to struggle in the rotation. But right now, Smeltzer, I've got him in the bullpen, probably like a long innings guy. Caleb Thielbar, Cody Stashek, Hanzo Robles, and Lewis Thorpe. I have rounding out the bullpen. And a note on Robles, you talked about how about how he was with the Angels, one of the better bullpen guys. I've talked about this with my cousin a little bit because he's a diehard Angels fan, and I think maybe something that came into play with Robles, because I know when he was with the Mets, he had some character issues and didn't get along with teammates out there. There's a part of me that kind of wonders if maybe that was the same case in Anaheim, and it may have just been more the Angels didn't want that in the clubhouse. Maybe Joe Maddon didn't want that, so that could be why he's with the Twins instead of the Angels. But that's what I've got as far as bullpen looks for Minnesota, which doesn't look bad, but I think they could probably use an upgrade there too later down the line.
Yeah, mine's set up relatively the same. Alex Colomé is definitely going to go into this season as their closer. It will be interesting to see if Hansel Robles will bring over his. I know he had like a really cool introduction with the Angels. It'll be interesting to see if he carries that over to the Twins. Taylor Rogers, Tyler Duffy, Caleb Thielbar. Yeah, those are all guys that figure to be in there. Even a guy like Lewis Thorpe as well. My bullpen's set up essentially the same as yours. But their bullpen, if they can upgrade it, I'd like to see them do it. Their bullpen's far from perfect, and I don't know if it's even top 5 in the AL. I mean, I mean, I would probably take the White Sox. I'd take the Yankees. I'd definitely take the Rays. Uh, Maybe Houston. I know Houston's has a pretty good bullpen. Maybe even Oakland. So, I mean, they're right there. That's just 5 teams off the top of my head that on paper have better bullpens than Minnesota. So their pitching definitely needs to be an area of improvement. Um, if you can upgrade your starting rotation, I think you can live with the bullpen you have now. And I think that if you can upgrade your bullpen, then you might be able to live with the starting pitching you have now.
Yeah,
But
upgrade one or the other, upgrade both
yep,
if you can.
if you can, yep.
I don't know what the market looks like right now, though, as far as bullpen goes.
Yeah,
It seems pretty quiet now, anyway.
David Robertson actually just pitched. I don't know if it was. I saw the news yesterday. I don't know if he pitched yesterday, but he did pitch for a relatively large group of scouts and members. I know that because the Yankees were one of the teams that were there. And that kind of got Yankee Twitter fired up yesterday, saying that they wanted to bring Robertson back. I guess he was touching 91 with his fastball, which isn't great, but he is like 37 or 36 or something like that. He maybe even be 38. But he was touching 91 with his fastball. His curveball was still his patented curveball was still really electric. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe I don't know if Minnesota was one of the teams that were there, but maybe they do look at him as a sort of a late innings guy. But speaking of guys, a couple of the prospects that I want to touch on here. Royce Lewis, obviously, one of the bigger name. He's one of the better prospects, but he's not one of the bigger name prospects that you'll see. Royce Lewis has kind of flown under the radar the last couple years with more exciting guys like Vlad Guerrero Jr., Biggio, Bichette, the Blue Jays guys coming up and raking in power. And now it seems like everyone's talking about the Yankees 18-year-old outfielder Jason Dominguez. People were saying that he's like I forget he was like Mickey Mantle and a whole bunch of other dudes mixed into one. So it'll be crazy to see. Yeah, I don't know who said it, but they said it was like Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. But Royce Lewis is the number 9. He was the number 9 prospect pre 2020. 6'2" shortstop. I think he's got the talent to play just about anywhere, middle infield, even outfield if need be. He's got great speed. Career 266 minor league batting average. Is not a tremendous hitter, but he should figure to as he gets older should figure to have his bat grow with him. He's actually got that I would call it plus power. He has hit some home runs, some considerably decent amount of home runs for a young shortstop prospect. So he's kind of one guy to keep looking at. I think it's possible he might be ready for major league time this season, maybe as an injury replacement if they happen to lose Simmons, Polanco, or Reyes. Another guy I want to look at, he's actually the younger brother of a current MLB player, Nick Gordon, who is the younger brother of D. Strange Gordon, who just signed with the Reds recently. He figures to be a shortstop, second baseman. He can play either or, just like his older brother. Also, just like his older brother, he's got tremendous speed, super high end speed. Actually, a 276 career minor league batting average. This is not quite the top prospect ranking that his fellow shortstop Royce Lewis is, but he's got considerable numbers minus the power. He's not much of a power hitter. He is actually played really well in Double A and Triple A, so he's kind of mastered the high end minor league pitching. I think it is definitely possible that he could see time in the major leagues this season, whether it be maybe he kind of busts out in spring training and garners an opening day bench piece, or maybe he comes up at some point throughout the season, whether it be after a double header or an injury replacement or something like that. He's definitely a guy I'll be rooting for. And then the third guy I want to take a look at is actually someone I have projected to be their opening day left fielder. That's Alex Kirilloff. People, it's pretty easy to forget just how good he is. He's a Pittsburgh native, so always love that PA proud moment. He was the 15th overall pick a couple years ago in the draft. To this point, he actually doesn't have any AAA experience in his career, but I think it is possible that he could just, as he did last season, just continue to skip right over AAA. He's a career 317 batting average in the minors. Excuse me. He's got plus power. He's got a plus bat. He doesn't have great speed. I don't think he's going to be a big base stealer guy, but he should have enough to at least be a threat on the base paths. Base running is very good, all high 60s, mid 70s in terms of talent level. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what Minnesota plans to do with him. As I mentioned, no AAA experience. So if absolutely necessary, they could send him down there. If he just struggles to do anything, I know that Polanco is a guy that could play the outfield for them. So if he struggles in spring training, maybe they get him some more seasoning down there. But I just don't see that happening. I see him continuing to rake, and I see him opening day being the left fielder for those guys.
I could easily see that too. And he debuted in the postseason last year, did he not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll see. I think that he's definitely someone to keep an eye on for sure. The three prospects that I want to look at, the first one I have is their number 3 prospect, Trevor Larnach. Larnach is an outfielder. He's played consistently across 2 levels of minor league ball since 2018. He's got 307 career batting average in the minors. In 2019, across 2 levels, he hit 13 homers, so he does have a little bit of pop in that bat. Currently, he's with Double A Pensacola. I imagine that he would get an opportunity to be on the spring training roster to get a spring invite at minimum. Maybe start the year off in AAA, but this is a guy I could easily see playing a part on the team this year. When I was actually looking at the Twins prospects, they have quite a few guys who are expected to make the show, whether it's this year or next year. So they have a lot of guys coming through that appear to be big pieces of their future. Another guy I wanted to take a look at is Jordan Balazovic, and he is on the major league roster right now, but in 2019, this guy's a starter too, so he could even play a rotation spot if necessary. But in 2019, across single A and single A advance, he was 8-5 with a 2.69 ERA. He's got a lifetime 3.32 ERA in the minor leagues. He's not expected to make the major league club until next year, but I do think this is a guy that is kind of becoming a rising star, and he could make it to the show a lot earlier than 2022, especially if the Twins start dealing with some injuries in their rotation. This could be a guy that they look to help them through some of those bumps. He's the number 4 prospect right now. The last guy I want to take a look at is a guy named Brent Rooker, and he did make some he played in a small sample size of games for the team last year. He's also an outfielder. He hit 316 in 7 games, had 19 at-bats in those 7 games. So this guy, and he has a little bit of pop in his bat too. He's got 54 home runs in the minor leagues. Only a 267 hitter down there, but he's hit a respectable 281 across 2 levels of minor league ball in 2017. And then in 2019, he hit 282 across 2 levels. So I think this is a guy that could see more time on the team as well this year. And maybe that's some of why the Twins haven't been as active in the outfield market, is because they do have some prospects who are ready to come up and potentially take over starting duties. Rooker does appear to be a guy that may even make a bench spot on opening day for the team. I'm not entirely confident on that sentiment, but I think if he has a really good spring it's very likely that he will be on the major league roster all year. But he could probably use some seasoning a little bit down in AAA too. But those are the three guys that I've got my eye on going into this year.
Yeah, they all figure to be, close to MLB ready, whether it be this season or the next 2 seasons. So definitely a couple guys to keep your eyes on. And now we kind of have arrived to that point. It's the end of another week. We give ourselves another round of applause for surviving another week with this podcast. And with that, we will kind of look at how we project our AL Central to look for this season. Steven, why don't you go ahead and read us off what you got?
Okay, so up until about 11:30 last night, I pretty much had my standings figured out, and then kind of as we broke down team by team, I seeing the moves that were made within the AL Central specifically this week, I had to change it up. And I've talked about how you got to be bold sometimes. Well, this is probably about as bold as I'm gonna get with division predictions this year. I do think the White Sox are going to win the division. They just seem like the better, well-rounded team. I know there's some skepticism about Tony La Russa being back in the dugout and not. I know there's some people kind of shaking their heads as to how that's going to go with the younger guys, but I think it'll be fine. I think the White Sox will be 92-70 this year with the division win. Now, bear with me. The Kansas City Royals are going to get second place. I'm calling it right now. They're going to get second place in the Central, 87-75. I really like what they have done this offseason. I think the Andrew Benintendi trade just put them a little above everybody else. And they're a really well-balanced team too. I like what they have. To be honest, this is the team I'm going to be watching this year. I'm going to be really besides the Diamondbacks, I'm going to be keeping my eye on them most of the year because I'm really excited for what they've got. The Twins, I have them finishing third, 86-76. And it's just because, to me, the rotation and bullpen could be their Achilles heel, especially if they don't get that improved. I really do believe they need to get some improvement there before the season begins. So I have them finishing 86-76. The Indians, I'm going to say 77-85. And it's just because I don't think they really have a lot to work with this year. They're not going to be a terrible team, but they're not going to be a great team either. Even with the coaching staff that they have and Tito leading the way there, I think that there are too many teams in this division that are better than them. And then for the Tigers, I have them finishing 69-93 because I think this is just the young guys are coming up. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road over the course of the season with them. But yeah, that's what I've got. It's bold. It might bite me later, but I feel really good, especially about the Royals. I just feel really good about it. It's hard to hate on them right now.
Well, mine is kind of similar to yours. It's just slightly off a little bit. I do have the White Sox winning the AL Central. I have them going 94-68. 2 games better than what you had them as. Yeah, you had 92-70, correct?
Yeah, 92-70.
I have them at 94-68. I do think they are the cream of the crop in the AL Central. Even with the fact that they haven't made too many offseason moves, they are still absolutely the best team in the Central. I have the Twins at 90-72. I think this team will more or less just kind of sleepwalk their way through the regular season, almost kind of fooling themselves into thinking they have a better team than they do. They are going to face some relatively easy competition in the AL. So it'll be interesting to see if they can actually if they go out and get a real starting pitcher, like a really good starting pitcher. I think it's possible they could potentially leapfrog the White Sox, but as of right now, I have them 4 games worse than the White Sox. In third place, I do have the Royals. I have the Royals in third place, going 85-77. I think the Benintendi trade literally might have put them over 500 for me. Originally, I had them at 75-87, and then right before they made the Benintendi trade, I had them at 80 and 82. And then after they made the Benintendi trade, I was like, all right, these guys are going for real. So 85 and 77. In fourth place, I had the Indians at 78 and 84. I think this is the first year that they really take that big step back. As you mentioned, Terry Francona is getting older. Probably doesn't have the same type of magic touch that he used to. And then I have the Tigers, who are still pretty firmly entrenched in their rebuild. I have them sitting at 63 and 99. I do think they're going to be good enough to not lose 100 games, but they're definitely not going to give anybody any real fits this season.
Yeah, AL Central, I think, will be fun to watch. And it really, kind of going through this, it is a toss-up between the White Sox, Royals, and Twins, and maybe Cleveland if you want to throw them in the mix too. I feel like this division is too hard to really say. I mean, yeah, we both agree the White Sox are probably the better team,
Mm-hmm.
but just as realistically, anything can happen in this division. We've been saying it all week. This is a pretty, as competitive as this division is, it's extremely up for grabs on all sides. So we'll see. But
yeah, that's the AL Central for you guys. Let us know how wrong you think we are about the Twins. I'm sure a lot of the mainstream media, as you can probably find on social media, a lot of the mainstream guys probably think the Twins are gonna suck this season. Just not so. We are basically the Nostradamus of baseball podcasts at this point. And so, what we predict usually ends up happening. Nomar Mazara is another guy that we called. I literally said on Tuesday that I can't believe Nomar Mazara is still a free agent. Like he's gonna sign eventually. I had no idea. Haven't heard any news about Nomar Mazara all offseason.
right.
2 days later, he signs a contract. So
yeah, you're welcome, Tigers fans. We did that.
Yeah, you are welcome. Yep.
It is getting
I hope Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
It is getting ridiculous.
Yeah. I hope Nomar Mazara goes out there to Detroit, and I hope he hits 75 home runs this year. I hope. But so yeah, there you guys go. Another week in the books. Next week we'll be covering the NL Central. Without even having to look, I know it's going to be the Pirates. And if we do this podcast again next off season, it's going to be the Pirates again. Rest assured, not to. It might be the Pirates for the next 15 years, to be honest with you. Yeah, Bob Nutting wants this team to fail. I think he's in cahoots. I think he wants to move this team to South Florida or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see if someone can come along and save Pirates baseball before it's too late. It's bad. Like they're paying their whole roster less than what guys like
Mike Trout are making.
Yeah, Mike Trout, Trevor Bauer, even Garrett Cole. Like they're paying their whole roster less than what and I know that those guys are getting paid probably slightly more than they probably should be. They do make their teams like hella money,
right.
But to pay your whole team like 25 million over the course of a full year.
Yeah. Well, like Cam said, we're starting NL Central next week. We'll start with the Pirates on Monday. We'll have visuals. We'll have more visuals next week.
Yep.
We're gonna actually we're gonna get our stuff on slides so then you guys can actually see this stuff, and that way we're not just going word to mouth kind of thing. It's kind of just part of us getting better and improving more. So we're gonna start doing that next week. That way there's more to watch with this too. Obviously, we're going to still repeat the stuff we're saying because if you're like me, I like to just listen. I'm not a big watcher of things, but so we're going to do that next week. Be sure to follow us on our social medias. The YouTube channel is Dugout Talk. The Instagram is at Real Dugout Talk. Facebook page, Dugout Talk. The username is at Real Dugout Talk. And then Twitter handle at Dugout Talk 1, capital D, capital T.
Yeah, we're over the past over the past day, we're up to like 8 followers already, 8 or 9 followers in the
Hey,
past
there we
day.
go.
Yeah, so I want to appreciate you guys who have started showing us some support. I posted some pictures of Three Rivers Stadium last night. I also posted a picture of Yankee Stadium under construction back in 1923. That's probably what I'm going to use Instagram for the most. Probably show you guys some great history photos. Maybe like when we cover important history dates, in our day in history, maybe I'll go through and I'll post some pictures of kind of like that event if it had pictures with it. I doubt anyone was taking pictures of Jeffrey Loria selling the expos, um, but yeah, I appreciate you guys. We also had like it was like 16 likes on our first four posts total. So I appreciate that, guys. Love seeing the support, and we plan on showing it right back to you guys.
Yes, we're very grateful for all of you. Thank you for being with us for another week. We're already through 3 weeks of this.
3 weeks, yeah.
It's hard to believe it's been a month almost already.
Yeah,
it's been heck of fun though.
heck of fun.
Yeah, and we appreciate all of you guys for sticking with us and listening to us. And whether you agree or disagree,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you. But again, thank you for being with us. Thank you for your support, for your love, your encouragement. It's been a great time, and we're just really grateful that we get to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. With that said, like we mentioned, another week's in the books. Look forward to coming back to you guys on Monday, same time, same place, same podcast. As always, it's your boy Cameron Lingle and
Mr. Steven Gossman.
yes, sir.
We'll see
I'll
you
see
guys Monday.